G'day, everybody. Welcome to Drones Down Under podcast. I'm your host, Danny, and with me is the lovely Sean. How you doing, mate?
Good, brother.
Hey, we have some exciting news, as we always do, but this time it's for the enterprise market. What have you
That's
got?
it. Well, we've got our little predecessor sitting behind our shoulders there, the trusty Zenmuse L1, and it's been replaced by the Zenmuse L2. So it's very exciting, right? So I think 2020, Danny, was when we got the introduction of the L1, which has probably been slammed, unfortunately, on the market, which is probably not my opinion of it, and I'm sure not yours. So
It's how you use
sorry, go on.
It's how you use the tools that you have. In this
That's
case,
it.
it's looking like a pretty worthy upgrade and a much needed upgrade from what the industry keeps saying.
Yeah, I think the last 3 years with LiDAR, in my opinion, we've had lots of payloads, very expensive, into the six figures, some of them. And it's made that whole servicing quite expensive as well, as you well know. And then the introduction of the L1 around that sort of 20K price point Australian dollars made it affordable for us as service providers, and also to offer that service to the customer. So I think that's where it's been really good. And obviously now with the L2, it'll be pretty cool to kind of see where the improvements have come in over the past sort of 3 years. So
3 years in terms is a massive difference. So I guess we should start looking into it. Let's talk about the differences and what's new about it.
Sounds good. Let me just share my screen. There it is.
It is glorious on the brand new 350.
Definitely looks slightly wider than the L1, I reckon. What do you think?
It does. And look, the camera looks a lot bigger than the original.
Yep. And it's got an L2 symbol in writing in front of it, which is cool, which never had anything on the L1. So let's get into the main call outs. So off the bat, high precision, I reckon. So vertical accuracy of 4 centimeters and horizontal of 5 centimeters.
I guess you're going to be one of the first ones, hopefully, to verify that for us.
Yeah, hopefully when we do get our hands on one. I guess the main call out here is, as we talked about, Danny, and you well know, that whole claim for us to validate that is typically we'd use something like ground control to verify that. So yeah, I think we take that with a grain of salt, because there's so many factors that can actually change that, and that accuracy and precision is going to vary based on where you're flying. So again, I could be completely wrong. It's just my experience. So hopefully I am wrong, and we can prove it out and verify DJI's marketing.
It looks very efficient with a 2.5 square kilometer radius covered in a single flight. That's massive. I've mapped some massive areas, and if I could do that in one flight, I'd be very happy.
Yeah, so one of our recent jobs was a bit over 6 or 7 square kilometers, and we broke that into a few different flights, and was definitely struggling on the RC Pro controller. We kept, every time it was landing and taking off, it was having to take quite a while to prepare the flight. So it'll be interesting to see whether that's been rectified in the Pilot 2 update as well.
I did hear a little sneak peek on the new Pilot 2 update. I really need to update our little smart enterprise controller, because it's a bit laggy these days.
Yeah, it looks very different, I think, to what you'd be used to, I'm sure, because I definitely had to look at it a few times to familiarize myself with it. Yeah, so I think the 2.5 square K is definitely interesting, provided you got visual line of sight. It's nice to know you can fly that whole mission that size.
Looking at DJI's marketing, VLOS is a very different thing.
Yeah. Cool. So this is your one, Daniel. Let you call that one out.
I was waiting for that. The superior penetration. The L2 is much better at penetrating than the L1.
Yeah, and I think some we might leave that one for there seems to be some cooler images down. So
Yep.
what did it say? Smaller laser spots and denser point clouds. So
Now, can you
I,
explain this detection range to me? How does this work?
well, I think that's just end of the day, the distance is from the actual from the mirror itself to where you're going to be. You know, if you're flying it at say 60 degrees or 75 degrees, right? So I mean, most of the stuff we tend to fly is usually 90, maybe 75. So you, I guess the shallower the angle, then that sort of range is going to be longer. So it's saying the reflectivity is going to be better the further out, which is about 450 meters, which seems to be quite good.
That's epic.
So, but again, I don't know at what point. I mean, have your flights, have you flown shallower than sort of that 75 degrees?
Not really, no. That's kind of about the same for anything we're mapping.
Yeah, so I'm struggling to understand the use case where that would make sense. But you know, if we were flying at 120 meters legally, our max height, I wouldn't have thought we have any issues with that detection. Um, just going back to that superior penetration where it talks about denser point clouds.
Mhm.
I don't think the L1 had any issues with that because if I know at around that sort of 60 to 70 meters, you're well above that 500 points per square meter, which is very dense. And if you compare it to something like a manned aircraft with a LiDAR unit, you'd be lucky to get between 25 and 50 points.
Wow,
Yeah.
that makes it a lot denser then.
Well, because they're obviously flying higher. So,
Yeah.
so I think the density of the L1's been great. It'd be interesting to see what we get out of the L2.
Examples are further down the page, so
Yeah.
well, check them out.
So I think just to finish off this, the 5 returns, the L1 had 3 returns. So that'll be interesting to see where the gain, you know, having more sort of vegetation, that's going to help. Turnkey solutions, so obviously plugging that into, like you said, the 350 will definitely give you a very good turnkey solution.
Exactly. There's no need to fluff around with any bigger units or changing the mounts. You know, it is plug and play, which is what we like about it.
Yeah, it's great. And well, given that it's DJI, it's the only unit that, other than the L1, that you can actually see what you're capturing, which you can't in any third party devices in Pilot 2. So I think it's quite stressful when you're doing larger sites and you have no idea whether it's actually capturing data or not. So
can you imagine driving out to a site? You know, you've done a 10-hour drive out to the middle of nowhere. You get home and realize there's no data.
Yep. Well, we've managed to acquire some work that way when people have done it, and yeah, stick with what you know, I guess. One-click processing DJI Terra. So I think there's a few updates on Terra as well, and we'll have a look at that once we actually get access to that.
Sweet. That is a gorgeous looking gimbal.
Yep. So integrated LiDAR solution. Anything here we need to talk about? High precision, high level precision. Yeah, so it's basically having that whole visual on that vertical and horizontal accuracy claimed earlier. I think we can keep going.
Better range increase. Yep, kind of ticked over that. Good to know. There you go. This is the sample I wanted to see. The denser point clouds. Now, that next to each other compared to the L1 is chalk and cheese.
I think we can play this.
Yeah. That's worlds different. Like I thought, like I look at the L1 data and I think that's amazing. But that is a big difference.
Yeah, agree. Again, so what have they flown this? 100 meters, and a fifth of that is L1 not only detects smaller objects. Right. Yeah. we're interested. It'll be good to know what settings were used.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe I guess at a
obviously,
later date, once we get our hands on it, we can talk about some recommended settings for this turnkey solution.
yeah, I agree.
Let us know in the comments, guys, if you'd like to know some recommended settings.
Like we were just talking about earlier, I mean, you know, if we typically fly at 90 degrees or maybe 75, so I think they're the things we want to share.
Yeah, 5 returns, that's great. So when you're trying to map dense foliage, looking for a terrain map, that's going to really come in handy.
Yeah, so we obviously had 3 returns in the L1, which has now gone to 5 returns, which is great and perfectly to have sort of this image. Something like that is where you'd probably want that 5 returns, because every time you get a signal coming back, it may only capture part of it. And the cool thing with something like Terra is you can actually see which return is picked up, which part of the vegetation, because it's all colorized. So
That's cool.
provided you've set the returns up, so if you certainly wouldn't be doing 1 return for something like this, as the drone's flying past, it's missing things. So yeah, so you can definitely in Terra pick up, if you've set it up to say between 3 and 5 returns, we'll see the different colors and which ones picked up which part of the vegetation, which is cool.
Right on.
Yeah, so this is talking about the whole return mode. So 240,000 points, which is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it's the same as what the L1 had. But obviously it's got more return modes than it did, like we just touched on.
Yeah. Awesome.
It's a lot of points per second.
That is a lot. I can hear the computer screaming from here. Pull back, pull back.
2 scanning modes. So where are we talking about here? L2's LiDAR can achieve uniform, non-repetitive, and repetitive.
Okay. That's cool. There's something very pleasing about watching LiDAR data.
Yeah, especially that's the part we were just saying, isn't it? How cool that you can actually see that live. Because there's only the DJI products can do that, the L1 and L2. So I think with the main one here is the fact that it seems to be narrow. I believe their field of view has been narrowed compared to the L1, is what I understood.
Which I guess it strengthens the beam, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Right on. I don't understand this part, the frame-based design. That goes over my head.
Design results in a 50-point cloud rate of 100% together 3x brings more. Could we just put it down to marketing, perhaps? I don't know. I agree with you. I don't understand
We'll have to ask our handy dandy person from D1, Trent.
That's it. We'll let him sit his test and hopefully he passes, and then we can get a more intelligent conversation.
He's a specialist. Maybe we'll have to get him on for the next one, talking about the recommended settings even.
That's it. Very good. So improved accuracy. Let's get that.
That's pretty epic.
What have we got, IMU? Your accuracy, 0.2 degrees, and then 0.05 and the pitch and roll.
Pinch and roll.
Yep. Post processing. Yeah, I guess this all goes back to the whole vibration when it's something in the air. So all of these things, again, my understanding is will make reduce that whole noise tolerance that we don't want when we're getting information back to the scanning.
Yeah.
So showing improvements in that, I'd say, is obviously a plus. But as you already touched on, the proof's going to be using something like the L1, using the L2, and it's having a look at the same data set.
Definitely can say of all things in this whole product, my favorite bit is the no IMU warm up, because when you're sitting there waiting for that IMU to warm up in the L1 for 5 minutes, that 5 minutes feels like forever.
And I guess 5 minutes on the batteries, isn't it? That's the main thing. That's if you had 25 minutes or 30 minutes flight time, and you just lost 5 minutes, that's where it kind of frustrates us.
Big time.
Yeah, so you're right. Now, I presume it's still going to do that mid-flight calibration because that's part of the whole LiDAR requirement as far as making sure it's recalibrated after, I think, up to about half a K when it's flying a straight line. So I'm pretty sure we'll still see the IMU calibration mid-air.
Yeah.
There you go. It's the one tick for you. You're happy.
The next tick is that it's a micro four thirds CMOS sensor that's mechanical shutter. That's a massive upgrade from the little 12 megapixel. I don't even know what sensor was in, like what size the sensor was in the last one, 1 inch or something. But now to actually have pretty much the same sensor that's in the Mavic 3 Pro, that's huge. But actually, that's the same sensor that's in the Mavic 3 Enterprise, actually.
Yeah, but it'll be interesting to see what we've done in the past is we've typically flown around 60 or 70 meters max with the L1 because after that we haven't really had very great results above that height.
Yeah.
And now if the claim is we can fly at say 100 meters, 120 meters, now the GSD is going to be much less for those photos. Because the photos, as you know, are used to colorize point clouds.
Yeah.
But what we tend to do is also use those photos to create a 2D ortho. Yeah.
It is good that it's a bump up in resolution then, and what do you call it? Sensor size. Well, it's not a massive bump, it's still good.
Yeah, so they definitely tell you, they don't encourage you to use those images. They're for any sort of ortho work.
Yeah.
Because they're essentially using to colorize. But I think, like you said, given the bump up on the sensor size, it's probably a good thing. So that's something else we can have a look at as well. Because you don't want to be flying, if you can reduce that flying, so you don't have to go and say, you might do a 2D ortho, you don't want to be flying this site twice, right?
Yeah, so, exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about the time management and efficiency.
Yeah, if it's a small site, it's no big deal. You can go fly with a P1, get what you need. But if you're flying a few acres, the last thing you want to do is do it twice. Exactly. To get your cloud data and get your photo data as well.
Yeah. I'm definitely updated my app.
This is your new update, which you probably haven't seen yet. So
I'll be updating straight after this recording.
I wonder whether the Terra update's available yet. I haven't tried that one yet.
There we go. It does look good. Looks a lot more user friendly. And if it's the same style app as that's in same style app that's in the Mavic 3 Enterprise remote, I'd be a lot happier.
Well, that image there of the DEM, that's something, the elevation model, we definitely can't do that in Terra today. Well, today you can probably because the L2 has now been released in an update, but previously. So it'll be pretty cool because normally you have to use third party to track all that. So that's that. Point cloud view. So yeah, the live view is pretty cool. That's
just to be able to see what you're doing. It's the situational awareness. You know what you've captured.
And the merging, like that's definitely new. Because as you know, if we flew multiple flights, the fact that you can now merge that on the controller, that's really cool.
Definitely.
And the PPK solution, so all of our assume the cause data that we're collecting, since we don't use the DRTK2 base anymore.
So much easier using that cause network. One less thing to lug around.
I think that's what's the PPK solution. Yeah, I think that's what that's about. So, and here's one quick processing. So yeah, this will be pretty cool. To generate DEM, to my knowledge, I haven't seen that before. So I'm pretty sure that's new.
There you go. We'll have to give it a go. Many
Going to a few
scenarios.
applications. So the land surveying and mapping. Obviously, we've seen some really cool images of that now. Electricity management. Obviously, it's picking up. This is now probably in the past. Most of this has been done by helicopter or manned aircraft, as we all know. And probably to some extent, you still need to use that. But for most areas, you probably can find drone starting to get into that market.
Yeah.
Forestry management. I guess the cool thing with all of these things is, yeah, the data aspect is great that we're picking up out of the L2, but it's what can we do with this data after, right? You might be like in the case of forestry management, you might be looking to identify certain types of trees. So you can sort of feed that into something else. And this is where it's a really good opportunity. The more quality of data improves, it's better for the next stage of whatever you want to do in post-processing. So the whole machine learning and AI component starts to develop as well.
Yeah. And that's only moving forward in leaps and bounds right now. So
yeah. And then infrastructure management clearly is a huge space.
It is. All right. Well, there it is, Sean. The Zenmuse L2. Well, that pricing's in US dollars, Sean, but what can you tell me about Australian dollars?
Aussie dollars. So if you go to the AirInspect store, off the home page, let's go have a look. So there's the Aussie dollars. That's the retail price, 23,880.
That's a lot more enticing than a lot of the competitors on the market right now, especially when they are, starting at 5 times that.
Yep, most definitely. And you've got a great support network here with D1 store, and if you need any assistance, they're always there to help. Yeah, so I believe stock's available in about 4 weeks. So that's one way to, I guess, if you want to put in your orders and have a look at what's possible with the L2.
Right on. Well, I'm excited.
Beautiful.
Looking forward to seeing some data because, the proof is always in the pudding.
That's it. We definitely want to see what the differences are between the L1 and the L2.
Aside from one digit. All right, Sean, mate, it's been a pleasure as always. Thank you very much for your insightful advice. We'll see you on the next one.
Awesome, Danny. Cheers. Take care.
See ya.